Morrissey of hotair.com, and you're listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
This is David Silverman, president of American Atheists, and you are listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear.
There are no winners here.
Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers. Readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
A progressive woman once told me that if she was my wife, she'd poison my coffee. I told her if I was her husband, I'd drink it. This is Alan Bordius, host of Their Finest Hour, Monday nights here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Rolled your car in a ditch. Ain't that a son of a bitch?
This is Chuck Dixon, the co-creator of Bane, and you're listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Hi, I'm Dustin Hoyt with America Our Way, and you can hear me right here on Vigilant Liberty Radio at 10/9 Central on Thursday nights. We bring you the best in political commentary from the right-wing, conservative, libertarian perspectives coming together and bringing the best content on the internet. Be sure to tune in every week for your favorite shows. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Hi, this is Larry O'Connor from WMAL in Washington, D.C., and you're listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Hey, this is Alfonso Rachel with 20 Pound Sledge and PJTV Zone Nation, and you're listening to VLR.
Welcome back to the show. This is the Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum. If you'd like to call in, we've got a guest holding on. After that, and for the remainder of the show, the number's 412-567-6879. If you kind of want to interact while the show is going, go to Twitter. At The Right Mics is the Twitter handle, and that will be super fun. Now, we've got a guest on the line with us, a friend of mine here from Southern California, but his business and interests are particularly interesting for what we do. Jeffrey Borneman, welcome to the show.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for having me back.
Hey man, Jeffrey. Well, I really appreciate it. Both Mike and I do. So quickly, summarize what you do and maybe a couple things. In fact, you even sent me a message earlier this morning about some international stuff. What you do professionally and what kind of things you keep your eyes on.
Thank you, Michael. I run Rampart Portfolios Partners, LLC. I manage money for clients. People ask me what I do. I run portfolios and I write geopolitical commentary, which is a short way to say that I manage money based on what's going on in the world. And I center in and focus in on the needs and the essentials of not only life for individuals, but for countries, which is metals, defense, energy, and food.
Metals, defense, energy, and food. Those are pretty important things.
Yeah, well, we're writing a book right now called Surviving the Pivot, the Cold Equations of Crisis Investing. And it is basically a look back on human history and how nothing has happened or progressed without metals, defense, energy, and food. I mean, we can't survive without it. Whether you're a country or a family or an individual, and that really what all geopolitical events. And today we're looking at a myriad of things. We're looking at Russia and China and India and gold and oil and food and all, but they all pivot around metals, defense, and energy and food. That's it.
So the idea is that as significant things happen internationally, whether that be wars or trade embargoes or things like that, that will have an impact on investments related to those things, and that's the opportunity you take advantage of.
Absolutely. And if you look at it, if you step back far enough and think about it like this, trillionaires don't care about money. And people say, well, wait a minute, there aren't trillionaires. There are no trillionaires. Well, trust me, there are. Trillionaires don't care about money. They own continents. Billionaires, they own continents. They don't care about money. They don't care about whether it's a loonie or a dollar or a yen or a pound, because they own literally continents. Billionaires, however, care very much about money, because the last thing a billionaire wants to do is become a mere millionaire. But really what this is all about is natural resources. So if you're looking at China's expansion into the southeast area, you're looking at their expansion into Africa, it's all for natural resources grabs. If you're looking at what Russia is doing, it's all resource based. Right now, we're fighting over oil. You look at Syria, you look at the situation that's exploding over there in every which way. It's all about making sure that people control energy, because you control energy, you control the world, in essence.
So it basically, that is really interesting. So you see that a lot of this stuff going on in Russia, China, and that is really just about acquiring rights to natural resources.
Oh, absolutely. It's a given. You look at, there are a few exceptions, and I'll give that to you, that were purely ideological based wars throughout history. Most of them were fought for metals, energy, and food. With defense, obviously defense. So defense has become such a huge thing because we want to either keep what we have or take yours. And so hence the metals, defense, energy, and food portfolios that I run are based on what is going on in the world right now, who is arming. And if you just look at the defense category of defense companies around the world, everybody is arming to the teeth, and I mean to the teeth. Let me say it this way. If you're familiar with the movie Trading Places, in the last 5 minutes of the movie, when they're on the floor of the Chicago Board of Trade and they're trading orange juice concentrate futures, and that whole scene where everybody's going crazy, that is what's going on in the defense area right now in the world. Everybody is ordering, cutting deals for jets and tanks and missiles and whatnot. And people say, well, the world's going to end and there's going to be war and it's all terrible. Well, we've got plenty of time, because they've got about 3 years before all these arms are actually delivered to people. So, but that's what's going on in defense, and they're doing it to protect either what they have in metals, energy, and food, or they're arming to go take somebody else's. And I believe it or not, that's an investment philosophy, because that's exactly what's going on. So when you talk about geopolitics, it centers on those four things.
All right, here from my perspective, and I think obviously you're outstanding at what you do, Jeffrey. I was, if you will, on the other end, the retail end, and I used to tell clients what's a good example? If I was proposing a particular mutual fund, international mutual fund, or a sector fund from somewhere in the world, and I would say, listen, I know nothing about investing in China. China funds were pretty hot, I don't know, 8, 10 years ago. Maybe they still are. But I said what I do know are some funds, some managed portfolios that are run by some folks who know a hell of a lot about wherever that market is, because that's what they do for a living, and I pick winners. So how are you guys measured? How have you done?
How are the portfolios doing?
Right.
Well, since inception, the portfolios were born in January 12. We've beaten the S&P every year.
January
really kind of not.
January 2012.
Yeah. The philosophy, I beta tested it for 2 years before that to make sure that it would hold water. I knew it would, but I did it anyway because you're supposed to.
Right.
Having said that, I get asked all the time, "Where's your international exposure?" And I don't have any. Somebody asked me the other day, "Well, I can take $6 million and do very well in Taiwan and the Philippines." And I'd say, that's really great. If we have another attack and another banking crisis, would you rather have the banks open up and the markets open up like they did after 9/11 a week later? Would you rather own Taiwanese tech companies, or would you rather own U.S. companies based in metals, defense, energy, and food?
Mm-hmm.
The next issue that we have that is worldwide, the rotation of capital, the 18 to 20 trillion that's in IRAs and 401ks, is going to be looking for safety and security. And
so
they're going to have to come to metals, defense, energy, and food somehow.
Well, in my experience, it's all about diversification, and that is both in terms of asset classes and it's in terms of geographical locations and the whole bit. And I think the point. I mean, I'm talking here just to the average investor. I don't think the average guy hoping he can educate his kids or have a successful retirement gives a whole a whole bunch about the billionaires and the trillionaires, but it's why we recommended for years that you invest in balanced portfolios. The idea of a guy sitting on a computer and going to E-Trade and trying to pick stock winners, or having a portfolio with a broker who makes money on the way in and the way out, managed money, certainly particularly invested in on a regular basis over a long term. Absolutely the best way to go, you guys who are listening as regular investors.
Let me say this as it relates to asset allocation. I look at portfolios all the time, and
right.
I call them my father's Oldsmobile portfolios. And they look like they were built in 1987 or 1995. They are, you walk into a big brokerage firm and you're X years old and you make X amount of money, and they punch all the data into the computer, and the computer spits out what you should own, which is a wonderful diversification of asset allocation of 20%, 20%,
sure.
This, 10% that, 4% this, and that kind of thing. That I consistently find people that are over diversified. Way over diversified. So you end up cutting off the gains that you could have, number one. But they're also invested in Russian bonds, and they've got Apple in 4 of their portfolios. So they're over diversified in one company, and they've got exposure where they shouldn't. And there's
the other
really
thing.
Nobody.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the other thing. Go ahead.
You talk.
Nope.
Nope. You take it.
All right. The other thing people tend to do, I mean, your average investor, those who diversify, and we could debate how diversified someone should be, but what investors, through my experience, through quite a few years, and I know you've had them as well, is there has been, or there was when I was in the business, a tendency for people to put together a portfolio and then just leave it alone, as if it were etched in stone. And my recommendation always was, you don't look at it and worry about it every day and try to make changes in it. But I worked with some of those